Hey everybody, it's Bonnie Hunter in the basement at Quiltville, and I am having a wonderful time tonight with the scraps. We had a doozy of a storm come through this afternoon, and it was so loud and so close. There were photos of a tornado real close in Greensboro, which is about 12 miles away from me. But poor Sadie was hunkered down underneath the dining room table, just shaking up a storm. And at one point, our power and our internet went out. And I hoped and hoped and hoped that it was not going to be a long-term thing, that it would keep us from having Quilt-Cam tonight. So just around dinner time, the power came back on. And the internet is back up, and we're working, and here we are. So how are you tonight? Hopefully you've got a project that you want to sew on with us tonight. If this is your first Quilt-Cam, I welcome you. This is something we don't do on a regular basis. It happens whenever I'm home, in between other things on my crazy schedule. I just returned from a wonderful trip to England a week ago, and then was whisked off to our cabin in the Blue Ridge on Friday, so I didn't have any time with the jet lag to do Quilt-Cam last week, but this week we are doing it. I have been working on these Carolina chain blocks. I do a scrap users column for Quiltmaker magazine called Addicted to Scraps, and in every issue you will find a block pattern with an idea to use up little bits and pieces of things you may have left from other projects. And if you've been quilting a long time like I have, over 30 years now, that scrap pile grows and grows and grows. I think I need to put my phone on vibrate, because that's going to really drive us nuts if we don't do that. I knew I forgot to do that. Okay, it's on vibrate. Now it can just vibrate away. That's people emailing us already their questions. So we are here, and in every Addicted to Scraps column is an idea for you to use one aspect of your own scrap user system. If you don't know what the scrap user system is, you can find it underneath the Tips and Techniques tab at the top of my blog at quiltville.blogspot.com. I use 1.5-inch strips, 2-inch strips, 2.5-inch strips, and 3.5-inch strips, along with squares and rectangles, to do most of the patchwork in my quilting life. These blocks all come from 2-inch squares and 2-inch strips, and they are a lot of fun. This whole cookie sheet was full of block parts, and look, I'm now about down to half, so we've been making some good headway. As I'm working on these, I like to work on one block chased by another block, so really 2 blocks at the same time to keep my piecing continuous. And so you will always find something underneath the needle of my machine just left there under the presser foot, so that the next thing comes along right after it, and there is never any long tails or wasted bobbin thread. Again, if this is your first time watching along with us, you can send me an email at quiltville@gmail.com, and that shows up on my phone, and I can answer your question as we sew, or you can tell me what you're working on or share photos of what you're working on. If you're on the blog, leave your comment in the comment section below the post, and those show up as an email also. Also, there may be a lot of email coming in tonight, because we've got a giveaway going on the blog. This morning's post, which is one before this one, I brought home a couple of issues of Quilt Now magazine. It's a brand new magazine in the UK. Fabulous issues, and we're giving away 2 copies of those, and that drawing is going to be on Friday, so you may want to flip back to that post and leave a comment on it. But for now, I'm going to sew after I get a drink. Yep, we ran out for barbecue, and of course most of it ended up as a leftover for tomorrow's lunch. I had to put it in the downstairs fridge, because if I left it in the upstairs fridge, when Jeff gets home from work, anything that's in a takeout container is fair game. All right, so we are laying out these little lovelies, and I showed on the blog post where this feet is embedded, this lovely little calico. Can you see that? I have very fond memories of this fabric. It was one of the first quilt fabrics I bought when I was 20, and I wanted to make a quilt-as-you-go log cabin. You know, you start out with your backing square, and you put a square of fabric in the center on top of you have the batting and the backing, and the square goes in the center, and you quilt as you go while you make these log cabin blocks. Well, then nobody told me you had to join these things all together. And I thought that I could do it all by machine. And as a 20-year-old brand new quilter, it did not turn out that great, which is probably why these scraps were pitched into the scrap box. And I've just been uncovering them here and there and using them every once in a while. And, you know, I was 20, I am now 52. So 32 years ago, I was buying this fabric. And this fabric looks just as brand new as the day that I bought it. It doesn't look like it's aged. Of course, I have. And so I shudder to think, what does this fabric know about me? What has this fabric heard over my lifetime? What has it watched me accomplish over my lifetime? So we are just going to sew these into some blocks. And I don't have the pattern for this up on the blog because this was a block that I did for Quilt Maker magazine. But if you can do any math at all, you can figure it out. It's from 2-inch squares, 2-inch rectangles, and it kind of makes a sort of 9 patch. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So to keep this continuous, I start with the center section first because the center is 3 squares. The others are just a rectangle and a square, and so I want them to come out even. I want to keep my chain as continuous as possible, so I send that center one through first so it can get its extra seam taken up. And we've been through this process over the last few quilt cams because this kind of patchwork is all about production. It's repetition. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Here's some cute older fabrics also. I think that blue is in 1980s, maybe early 90s. I'm not sure. Just some scraps that came from somebody else as well as stuff that's hung around in my studio. And we just sew it up. It just plays color. Fabric is a color or a value. Sometimes fabric is an emotion or a feeling because this color scheme can bring about emotion and a feeling. But mostly it's either light or dark or it's playing a color role. And we're just putting this little floral with this little blue plaid. Okay, so now that's as far as I can go on that one. I can't go any further, so we take another one and lay it out. Boy, we are walking down memory lane in the scraps here. But you know, I think our scraps are what makes our scrap quilts unique. Your scrap quilt is never going to look like your neighbor's scrap quilt, or your friend in Guild's quilt, or my quilt, or anybody else's, because we've all got a different scrap signature. Our scraps show us the fabrics we like to sew with. You can tell a lot about somebody's personality by looking at their scraps. You know, maybe they've made a lot of baby quilts, so there's going to be a lot of novelty fabrics and softer colors from baby quilts. Maybe they had daughters and no sons. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of pink and purple, but not a lot of masculine plaid. So you can really tell a lot. All right, so we're going to pull this one off. I had a great time in the UK, and I can't wait to go back. There is so much to see and so much to do. But I tell you what, save your pennies because you're going to need it for food. You're going to need it for the rice that's going to go on the side of your Thai dinner. My friend Brenda, who I met on the trip, and we just hit it off like wildfire. We went across the street in Stratford-upon-Avon to a Thai place, and I thought that, well, Thai place, that'll be pretty much like at home. You know, it's international food. It'll be pretty much like at home. Only here, they give you huge amounts of food. You get enough for 2 meals. You take the rest home, and you have it for lunch the next day. And it comes with a box of steamed rice, right? Well, here we had to, I figured that the dinner, by looking at the price, figured that the dinner was going to cost me about $25. Okay, so that's about double what I would pay here. But then the lady points to me on the menu where I needed to choose which rice dish I wanted, and there was a price by each one. It cost me £3.50 for a half a cup, of steamed white rice. That was $7 for a small cup of steamed white rice. So I now know why the Brits carry along their sandwiches in their backpacks, and they spread out a blanket on the lawn wherever they can find it, and they have a picnic, because the cost of eating out, well, that was severely cut into the fabric budget. So I have newfound respect for packing lunches, eating out in the park, and not eating in restaurants. All right. So where are we here? I got busy talking and lost my place. Nope, we're good. We'll take some callers in just a second. So if you are on live hangouts on YouTube and you're watching, you can leave your comment there, and it'll show up in my email also. You can leave your comment on the blog. You can leave your comment in the blue guest book button that's in the left-hand sidebar of the blog, or you can email me. But what you can't do is leave a message on Facebook, because I can't get to Facebook from here. So make it direct to my email or the blog, and we can get you. But I'm really excited about this project. You know, my next book is all to do with the blocks from my Addicted to Scraps column. And so the blocks you may have seen, but the quilt layouts you haven't seen. So what you will find me working on over the next year is the blocks from my columns, but I won't show you what I'm doing with them. So that'll be fun. Just like these blocks. This is the Carolina chain block. This is the actual block that was in the magazine. But I'm going to set them some other way, and that's going to be extra fun. You'll want to pay attention to that. Okay, I think one more seam, and then I've gone as far away as I can on these two blocks. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one under the needle. I'm just going to leave it there. It doesn't hurt it to leave it there. It can just stay there a while longer, even though it's done. But I'll cut this one off. I do a lot of finger pressing just because I'm sitting here, and then I'll take the whole pile to the ironing board when I'm done and give them a good press. But here's the blue plaid with that little roses from when I was 20 and shopping at, I think it was a House of Fabrics or Fabricland or something like that at the time. Let's check and see who's tuning in with us tonight. I'm going to go straight to the email inbox. Kevin the Quilter, you're at the top of the list. He says, oh yeah, I made it home in time to watch Quilt-Cam. Did you get your nap in today? Kevin and I were messaging on Facebook at a little after, what, 6 a.m. this morning, so it was 4 something his time. Flight attendants keep crazy hours, as well as quilters who can't sleep at night. Yes, I did. I got about an hour nap, not long enough, but just enough. He says, gosh, I can't read this. The white screen is just so bright, my eyes dance. Gonna just watch and enjoy the commentary. Oh, come on. You can at least iron some fabric or something while you're watching. This one is from Stephen, who says, London calling. I'm staying up late to join you live this time as I don't have to work on Tuesday. Yay. Weather's gone cooler since you left with showers, but still very nice. Had a great weekend away visiting the Queen's country home of Sandringham in Norfolk with 2 favorite friends who spoiled me rotten, which I love. You should be spoiled rotten for your birthday. So everybody wish Stephen a happy birthday. Have loved reading your write-ups of the UK trip. We just had the absolute best time, and there was not enough time to do it all. So it was like an appetizer platter. You could have a little bit of this, and you could have a little bit of this, and try some of this, and whatever, and then you'll know when you come back next time what to do. And it was just fun. And I really, really loved how everybody in London, when the weather is super, super nice, and I'm sure there's days when it's really not really nice, which is why this happens, but everybody was outside. Everybody was on the grass, on a picnic blanket, enjoying the beautiful day, kids feeding the ducks and the swans in the water and running and playing with squirt guns and water balloons, and just making the most of the beautiful, beautiful day. And of course, London is so very pedestrian friendly and very easy to get around on public transportation. When I try to relate that to my own home area here, well, yes, I could go down to the park with a blanket and put it on the grass and eat my picnic and immediately get eaten by all the bugs. England did not have all that many bugs. We were out there, and I don't think I got a single mosquito bite or anything like that. With my luck, I'd whip out my blanket and put it right down on top of a fire ant hill, and that's just how things are in North Carolina. But I really, really enjoyed the whole outdoors summer of England. Colleen says, what a great giveaway. Well, wonderful. I hope that you left your comment right there on the blog. I forgot. When it's a giveaway day, because we have a giveaway running today, I usually turn my comments off, or I will end up with 900 and something comments in my email to wade through. But for tonight's Quilt-Cam, I had to put the comments back on. So in between the comments that are coming for Quilt-Cam are coming all these comments for people wanting to win the blog thing. So I may be flipping through just a little bit. Allison says, picture attached. Here's her beautiful, oh wow, that is gorgeous. Looks like a table runner coming together, burgundies and pinks, and looks like some gorgeous cheddar in there. So Allison's with us, and it looks like I see an orca bay in the background. Do you see that? Glad to have you here, Allison. Can't wait to see how you quilt that. We'll find her text further down. It says, Allison in Texas, glad to be with you during Quilt-Cam tonight. Just finished this table runner with Civil War fabrics. Now on to my 4-patch X blocks. Hugs, and glad you and Sadie survived the storm. Scaredest dog ever. Scared, 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 and you just feel so bad for her because she doesn't leave your side and she does not come out from under the table. Just pitiful. So Marcia says, Quilt-Cam and Hexies, who could ask for more? And she shows us what she's working on here. She's from Missouri, and looks like she's going to fit these posies right together, just butted up right next to each other. And I like how they have the black centers like black-eyed Susans, kind of like the flowers that grow in Missouri in the summertime. Okay, and then we've got Claudia, who says, have fun watching Quilt-Cam tonight, or having fun, while I stitch row 31 of 44 rows on my hand-pieced barn raising quilt. It will have nearly 2,000 2.5-inch squares. Getting close. Thanks for sharing so much with the quilting community, and that's from Claudia. And she didn't say where she's from, so if you're emailing me or leaving a comment, let's have you also state where you're from so we can get an idea who's with us tonight. This one is from D. King, who said, wanted to make a Christmas gift for my ailing mother. That's how I caught the quilting bug 20-something years ago. And so she said her very first quilt was also the Quilt As You Go log cabin. Just don't do it with polyester batting that's this thick. Believe me, if that thing crawled and it creeped and it stood up on its own, and I was a 20-year-old frustrated mess with that one. Linda Lang says, just wanted to share with you what I finished last week. I fell in love with your block Berry Bushel from Quiltmaker magazine. Yes, that was the Addicted to Scraps column. Good. And immediately began rounding up fabrics for it. Got some components made, and then life got in the way. Daughter's wedding, bell choir, Christmas, 3 grandsons in the new year. Oh my goodness, got to make quilts for them. Anyway, to make the long story short, I finally got back to doing this block when I got back from helping with grandson number 3. Needed some instant gratification and decided to make a runner for my Singer 15 that my mother-in-law gifted me this summer. It was her mother's sewing machine, so it's been passed down through the family. That's just awesome. I'm quite pleased with it and have enough parts left to make a table runner for my dining table. Thanks for this lovely block and all the stuff you do. And this is Linda in Alberta, Canada. And I've got her picture here. And this is the Berry Bushel block. If it'll clear up there just a little bit. Berry Bushel block and her wonderful Class 15 Singer there. That's another one. Oh, so many of those blocks need to be made into quilts. So they're on my mind too, but I do love that one, especially this time of the year. That's great, Linda. Thanks for sharing. And then we've got Andy, who says, I am doing an extra wild and goosey block tonight. Goal is 1 a week. Almost ready to add the next row, and we'll send you a picture when I get it on. Love this one. I do too. That's another one from the Addicted to Scraps column that's underway, and I've got plans for that one too. Just wait till you see it. They call me the quilt masochist for a good reason. Mary says, I'm unstitching part of one side of the piece border I made for my midnight flight. It's something to do while I watch you sew. Glad you had some time for Quilt-Cam tonight. I'll be busy the rest of the week. I'm getting ready for the fair. So that's Mary up in Washington State tonight. And then I know I saw one from my friend Abby who says, 4-Patch X from your new book, More Adventures with Leaders and Enders. Thanks for a fun way to use my scrappy 4 patches. And this is from Abby. I'm going to biggie size. I wonder if I turn this sideways. Oh, yeah, it does. Good. Still learning new phone. But here's her blocks on her design wall, and that's the 4-Patch X block. Those 4 patches I made from 2-inch squares, sewed them into 4 patches as leaders and enders, and you can always find a place for scrappy 4 patches to go. Always, always, always. So if you don't have a current leader and ender project going, just start sewing 4 patches. You will find a place for them. They are fabulous. Abby, I love that sashing, and those cornerstones are just wow, girl. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to put some pieces through the machine here. I'm almost to the part of all of my blocks so far have had dark outside and light chains. And then I will pretty soon be switching to light outsides and dark chains. So I know when I'm done with these. And yeah, I count. When I kit things up, I count. I put things in piles of 10. Okay, this is 10 blocks, 20 blocks, 30 blocks. And I know when that quilt is all cut out, it's cut out, it's done. And I can clean up my mess and then just sit with my pieces and sew. So I do all of my counting while I'm in the cutting process. I do all of the matching of what fabric's going to end up next to what in the quilt in the cutting process. And it makes my sewing so much more organized. So now I can snip that one finished block off the back. Just a finger press, but just some sweet little calicos, light blue, and this little neutral is an oldie but a goodie too. And they just make me smile. They're comfortable fabrics, and they just go anywhere. Now, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, will anybody care that I was sewing with 10-year-old fabric? No. They won't care. It's just a color. So we go as far as we can on the block we have going, and when I can't sew anymore on this block and have to leave something underneath the presser foot, then I lay out the next one and get going on it. It just is very continuous, and yet I've always got something new under the needle to keep my interest. Okay, so that's as far as that one can go, so we lay out another. Good old Debbie Mum print. Let's see if I can. This one had little Valentine hearts on it. You might recognize some of this stuff if you've got deep stash from sewing quite a while. Just think, what do those scraps know about you? Well, I can't do this one somehow. I ended up with a rectangle and no third square. Okay, so we're going to set this set aside. I must have not paid attention because I've got 2 rectangles, 2 squares of the light, and 2 rectangles, 2 squares of the dark. That's a fail. We'll have to decide which one that's going to do. Pick another one. How about some recycled red plaid? One thing I have not done in a while, well, I guess I finished the cheddar sampler that had the little 6-inch sampler blocks that I did the string sashing for, but I haven't really done anything with recycled plaids. So I know that there were some Addicted to Scraps blocks that used recycled plaids, and I think I'm going to pull those out and work on those. So if you have those quilt maker issues on hand, and I'm working on those blocks, feel free to pull out that issue, get the directions, and sew those blocks along with me. You could always decide to set them your own way, or then just set the blocks aside and wait to see what I do with them. Then you'll be that much closer to having that quilt done. I'm really excited. I've got a couple of girlfriends coming up to the cabin on Saturday to sew. And I have not had both of these girls together in one place for years. I've seen one, but not the other. Or I've seen the other, but not the one. But to have them both in the same place for several days, I am just very, very excited. And Tanya's coming from Maryland, and Siobhan's coming from Augusta, Georgia, and we are going to sew from Saturday through Friday, and it's going to be awesome. And I have a mystery quilt underway, so they are sworn to secrecy. Don't think you can bribe them because it won't work. But we're going to make headway on that, and I'm feeling really good about my schedule. Everything seems to be coming right along. Love these thread snips. Just love them. No matter how you pick them up, they work. They're not a lefty-righty thing, and you don't have to put your thumbs through a hole. Okay, so now this has gone as far as it can. So I leave that under the needle. This one is done. And so it just seems like every few seams you're kicking out another completed block with no thread tails anywhere. And just add it to the pile and pick out another one and get sewing. All right, let's see who's with us. I'm going to scoot down the inbox a while because we've missed, holy moly have we missed. Sharon says, oh my gosh, that 2 to 3 inch puffy batting. Yeah, no kidding, right? Like you can lose yourself in it. She says, saints preserve us. Pulling papers off foundation pieced geese strips. Oh yeah, I like that job too. I don't mind removing paper as long as my stitches are small enough that the paper comes off easily. The one thing about paper piecing that just gets me to no end is if I have to pick it out of seam allowance. So I tend to piece my shapes and trim them up and remove the paper before sewing units to each other because I don't want paper in the seam allowance. Okay, here we have Jen in Utah who says, it works! So glad you're back in the States again. I hope you enjoyed Britain in Bloom. Yes, it was just absolutely gorgeous. I'm attaching a couple of pictures of the things I've been working on this past week. First of all, let me just say the scrap user system works. That's what she means by it works. The scrap user system works. She said, little monkey started with my grandsons, 7 and 11, pulling my bins for 1.5 inch and 2.5 inch strips and matching up some sets. I never dreamed I'd put metallic Asian fabric with soccer fabric, but here it is and I love it. On my long arm is a split 9 patch from a couple of months ago. Thank you for your creative genius. And that's Jen in Utah. So she's got 2 photos here. Let's do this. Here is her little monkey. This is the monkey wrench pattern that's on under the free patterns tab at the top of the blog. It makes a 5-inch block, super cute, uses 1.5 inch strips and 2.5 inch strips and the easy angle ruler. If you have these sizes of strips on hand, this block is so super fast and so super fun. And just like she said, it is really freeing and rewarding and a heck of a lot of fun to put things that just do not go together. Things that almost make you cringe are a lot of fun. You know, it's like the little old lady who goes mudding in the Jeep. You know, get the mud all over. Just have fun with it. That's beautiful. Let's see your other photo. Okay, so here's her split 9 patch. that was last year's leader and ender project on the long arm getting completed. So that's another free quilt made this year just by the use of leaders and enders. So are you working on our lozenge quilt for this year? Mine have been, I hope to get more done this over the next couple of weeks while I'm up at the cabin sewing. I've been doing a lot of chain piecing like this, working on one block then another, and not long chains where I could stick in a separate project as a leader and ender, but I'm going to get going on that one because I want to get it done. That's just beautiful, Jen. Thank you so much for sharing. And this phone is just buzzing in my hands. Amy says, back in the quilt flow mojo, much to do to Andy in Arizona and Nancy in Pennsylvania. And you happily scheduled a Quilt-Cam jackpot. I hope to finish up piecing a king-size top tonight. King size, holy moly. I only have 5 more long seams to finish off piecing the rows. Then who knows? And hats off to Amy, because I know she does a big garden and she does a lot of canning. And August and September are such busy preserving months before the winter comes that it's hard to fit the quilt work in there. So it's nice when an evening comes like this, and if we can just kick in 1 hour, then we can get some sewing. So glad you could tune in with us today, Amy. Donna, working on the twin sister blocks, leaders and enders, to make a quilt for my twin. The pattern shown on the website for the quilt shows setting triangles. Can they be half blocks I don't sew together? Absolutely, that should work just fine. You know, give it a test run. Maybe you need to cut some blocks a little bit larger before doing that. That's another one of those that needs to be a completed full-size quilt, and I haven't done it. I've just done the blocks for the column. So let us know how you come out with that, Donna. Send a picture if you can. So exciting that these quilts are coming together for you. This one's from Chook, who says, it's Beth, says, hi Bonnie, so glad to be with you for Quilt-Cam today. Waving from Maryborough, Queensland, Australia. And that's from Beth. So waving hi to Australia. Exciting things. Alice says, weed whacker. Just finished a quilt for a wedding gift. Even though I couldn't attend the wedding, I was able to pick out the wedding colors from their invitation. Oh, and that is on fire. Holy moly. That's Weed Whacker, which is another one of the free patterns at the free patterns tab at the top of the blog. Scroll all the way down to W. I think it's the last one on the list. It uses 2-inch strips and 3.5-inch squares, and you get a lot of bonus triangles from this one too that you can use in another project. So Weed Whacker's a fun one. I love that. Looks almost 3D the way you shaded it, Alice. Super. Okay. This one is from Rhiannon, who says, so excited for Quilt-Cam today. I'm joining you from Auckland, New Zealand, where it is Thursday afternoon. That is so odd. I am hand piecing a block of the month today. Glad you, are you sure Thursday or Wednesday? It's only what, is it Monday here? She said, I am hand piecing a block of the month today. Glad I have you to sew along with. I can't wait for your mystery quilt. I haven't done any of yours quilts yet, but can't wait to try one. If you are on the fence about doing a mystery with me and you looked at last year's Celtic Solstice and thought, oh my goodness, it has all those pieces, and oh, she did it so big, and it's going to take me forever and I just can't do that, this year will be easier. I'm going to give you a break this year because I need a break this year, and it just worked out that way. So it's going to just be one size of quilt. I don't have the inches yet because I'm still in the construction phase. But if you don't want a big quilt, you do half the units. And then after the reveal, you decide how many blocks to make and what you're going to do with it. But play along. You'll have fun. It will be really, really super easy. There's not going to be any hard points like the Tri-Rex or anything like that this year. We're gonna cruise this year. We're gonna take it a lot easier, and that's all the hints I'm going to say. But you won't want to miss out on the quilt this year because it's really going to be a fun one. Okay, Betsy Davis says, out of focus. You are mostly out of focus tonight? Yep, that's just the way that it is with my life. You know, Betsy, there's nothing I can do about it. We had a huge thunderstorm here. It took my internet out. The internet's back, but it may not be back to 100%. And we are streaming live in my basement out in the middle of nowhere. I live out in the country, and this is as good as my connection gets. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So instead of watching me, just listen. Just sew something and quit worrying about whether the feed is good. Also, if you put me on full screen, it's going to be more blurry than if you have me on small screen. That's why I suggest people watch me on the blog, because the screen's just about the right size where things are more in focus, and then you get the background detail of what I'm working on. But telling me out of focus or blurry or whatever, there's nothing that I can do during the airing of this to fix it. It is what it is, and we're grateful for it. Okay. Irene says, hello from San Antonio. Working on a felted wool project while watching Quilt-Cam. My mom and I finished all 16 quilts of valor for our family veterans and presented them at our reunion dinner. It was great, and they were so appreciated. Your 4th of July pattern was a great hit, and that's Irene. Irene in San Antonio, did you get the email I sent you? At least I think it was an email. It may have been a Facebook message, but check for it because it's about the cruise stuff in November. So email me back. All right. And one from Vicki, and then I'm going to sew a little bit. Vicki says, oh, she entered the giveaway. Never mind. Dennis, Lois and Dennis says, working on sewing yo-yos on a Kim Deal wall hanging and enjoying Quilt-Cam. I get to spend time with Kim on the cruise in November. So excited. I am half done with my Blue Heaven and really enjoying that pattern. Thanks for the company. And this is from Lois, and I'm going to biggie size her project here so you can see it. She's got Kim's design there, and she's putting yo-yos on. Isn't that pretty? It's kind of an orange peel kind of look. Really nice. Really nice. Okay, now go back. All right, so where was I? This machine, besides the fact that it's blue, which I love blue machines as much as I love pink machines, it's got a really pretty, almost a hammered finish on it, and it's a 1950s boat anchor made by Brother in Japan, and it does straight stitch only, and what a beautiful job it does. I just decided to give the other machine a little bit of a break and to add a little bit more color to my life over here. You know, life is too short to always sew on a black machine. So we're just going to lay out this next block. Green polka dot. I love it. Okay, set that one aside. Then we add the third piece onto this center, and then we can sew the rest together, and it just comes out right. If I start with the center section first, and then add that, and then all 3 rows come out done at the same time. And then leave the last one under there. Bring these 2 forward, finger press. And then I can sew these 2 sections to each other. And you'll notice I'm not pinning. I'm not a big pinner, but I do nest. I get those seams right tied up next to each other, and then I do not let go. Just keep your finger on those seams. Make sure they stay together until after they've passed the needle. Now that one can't go any further, so I'll pull this one back out. Feel that seam nest. I usually nest the seam first before aligning the upper and lower edge. It's the nesting of the seam that's most important, and then I'll align the top and the bottom. And that one stays. This one comes forward. But I can sew a whole bevy of blocks without even having to leave my chair this way. See, one stays under the needle, one comes off the back. Red plaid and little old calico. Just love little old calico. Okay, so we are still this pile here. There are some oldie moldies in here. Now this one had way too many squares. Got some extras. How many of you remember? This is kind of a peachy pink. It's more peach than pink. Paw prints. I'd say, what, 1984? Something like that. Peach. It's the new pink. It's coming back in. Gotta hurry up and sew up the old kind so that it can come in again in a better style. All right. Green. Polka dots. White squares. Cute. So how do you know when your kids are finally growing up? When the 30-year-old and the 24-year-old decide to go on a cruise together, just the two of them, to the Bahamas as brothers. I am so excited for them. You know, it's one thing when the boys are growing up and they're 6 years apart to hope and pray that they will be friends when they're adults, but to see them actually be friends and to be making plans to do things just the two of them alone without parental pushing or involvement is a very good thing. So that's what's going on here. Jeff got his passport while I was away to England. He's so excited. He's 24 and has a passport. And they're going to celebrate Jason's birthday. His birthday's in November, but they're going a couple weeks before his birthday. So it should be fun for the two of them. I guess they've had enough of me taking off and going places and going on cruises. They've decided to do it and leave me at home. It's another fabric I never get tired of. Ticking stripes. Stripes can go anywhere at any time, and I always love them. So stripes are great. I just love putting the pieces through the machine. And this machine just does a great job. I have my same sticky seam guide on here. And I always measure so I know where to put the seam guide, so no matter which machine I'm sewing on or switching to, I get the same seam out of every machine. Because you measure before you sew. It's kind of like, okay, we're going to bake something. We need to preheat the oven. Well, instead of baking something, we're sewing something. And if you're going to sew something, you got to check the seam allowance. Make sure it's giving you the result you want. These blocks will finish at 4.5 inches. Okay. That's as far as that chain can go. Peachy, just peachy. Okay, who's with us? NJS says, I took your suggestion and named my pink diva Pinky. Meet Pinky Tuscadero. She is named, I got a biggie size of text, named after Fonzie's girlfriend on Happy Days. Oh, isn't she beautiful? How's that for a luscious pink machine? You just never know when they're going to turn up. So don't give up looking. If you're looking for one, don't give up. Check yard sales, thrift shops, Craigslist, and let all your girlfriends know. They will find you the machine of your dreams. She looks adorable. What a sweet ride. Okay. Vanessa Taylor says, hello from Wyoming. Just me and the chickens down here watching you. I'm working on putting the string sashings on my Wonky Wishes stars. I have the vertical ones done, working on the horizontal. I rescued a cute little singer from a garage at a rummage sale this weekend, a 1952 model 1591. It's just like the one my mom taught me to sew on. Clean and runs great. I also just found a featherweight for sale, trying to decide if I can afford the $300 they want for it. So excited. He has her big sister also, a 301 I think it was, tan, with also a fold-up table. You've created a monster, but a very happy monster. Spent all weekend watching Quilt-Cam and sewing away. Hubster was out of town. Glad you are out there, and thanks for Quilt-Cam. And that's from Ness, and she sends a picture. Oh, cute! She's been working on these little pin cushion chickens. They're perched right there on her machine. Now, here's my my reasoning. When my Bernina, which I bought in 1995, I think, is when I got it, and it was, for me, expensive then. It was $1,300, which was a lot of money back in 1995. It was a 1080 was the model, and the circuit board is going. And yes, I can get the circuit board replaced, but it's going to cost me $1,000 to get this machine back up to par. Did I want to buy the new Bernina? Here's the brochure. Look, you can have a new plastic Bernina for $5,000. And I thought to myself, I'd already been collecting machines for a while. You know what? I can really have some fun and learn more about vintage machines and have more fun with the vintage machines if I just hang on to that $5,000 and spend it here and there. You know, yes, I may pay, I think I paid $50 for this one, and then had to have some rewiring done on it. Okay, so maybe I have now $50 plus $80 into this machine. But out of that $5,000, you know, I can go a long way with the vintage machines, and most things I can fix myself. If I have to redo the tensioner, I've learned how to do that. If I need to get in and clean it and oil it, I can do that. If I need to change the belt, I can do that. So I've learned, not only has it been fun, it's been an education to learn how to do some of these things. Now, the one thing that I haven't messed with is timing or rewiring. Those are the two things that I leave to the big guys. But you know what? I still have most of that original $5,000 left to play with because I didn't buy a plastic machine that I didn't need. So I love my vintage machines. I'm a straight stitcher. I don't do a lot of machine embroidery, and I understand if somebody's got a machine embroidery fetish that they're going to want the biggest guns out there that they can get because that feeds their passion. That does what they want to do. I just piece. I just sew little pieces together with a straight stitch. So these vintage machines have been a joy to work with, and what a piece of history. And you just can't beat them for the most beautiful straight stitch that there is out there. There are a lot of machines that have what they so-called a straight stitch. But really, it's a zigzag that is forced straight so that the stitches really do kind of slant just a tad. If you look at the seam line, you will see that those stitches are just kind of ticked off just a little bit so that they're at a slight slant, almost like a whip stitch. That kind of seam is not a true lock stitch. It's not a true straight stitch, and it will take up more space in the seam allowance when you go to press your seam over. If your stitches are not exactly straight, well, you're going to lose more distance in that fold, because your fabric won't be able to fold over as far because those stitches are in the way, and then you have to compensate for that in the seam allowance. So for the work that I do, which is just, you know, it's just a very simple straight stitch, and I'm sure if I hold this up here you can't even see what my stitches are. No, really, really, really blurry. Okay. Absolutely straight seam. There is no slight slant to these stitches like there are on some of the higher end big gun machines that do all of the fancy stitches and embroidery and whatever. Because of their fancy stitch capability, they can't get a true straight stitch. So sometimes less is more. Just depends on the job that you want your machine to do. I love those old babies. So if you want that Singer featherweight, this goes back to Ness. I don't know what you paid for the 15, but let's just say that you paid $100 for the 15 and the featherweight is $300. Well, then I would add those two prices together and kind of rationalize to myself, well, I got them both for about $200 each. Some of the machines cost me more. Some of them I get for 25 bucks. It just depends, but it all averages out. Okay. Hope that helps you, Ness. April says, Quilt-Cam. She says, watching and listening to you while I'm unpacking in my new home and new sewing quilting room. I took a few pictures to show you my progress, and this is April in Minnesota, who looks like she must be happy as a clam with all that space. She has got a really happy mess in the studio there while she sets up her new space and gets ready to roll. You'll be ready by the time the kids go back to school, April. Congratulations. That's wonderful. So excited for you. This one says, Teach Penny says, I agree about mixing fabrics because they work for the projects rather than always using the collection. I've done some of both. The white on this screen. The screen's so big and the white is so bright, my eyes are like, oh. Okay, I've done some of both because I purchased either charm packs or fat quarter packs, but many of my supporting fabrics come from Stash. You and your quilts rock, and I'm glad you share them. Love the red print, and that's from Teach Penny. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Nancy says, thank you for your generosity and Katie's to offer copies of the magazine in a giveaway, and this is the giveaway. I wasn't going to read those on Quilt-Cam. If you haven't entered the giveaway, you need to go over there and enter. Okay, so we have Peter and Susie. Sue from Queensbury, Glen Falls, New York says, working on crab apples and out to the borders now. All of the 1-inch squares came from our Wings Falls Quilters Guild members' stashes. The large lump in the upper left is my large cat who would not move for the picture. I wouldn't have noticed unless you had pointed that out. But there is a definite big lump in the upper left. Hello, kitty, 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 kitty. That looks gorgeous. And I love the red sashing and the cheddar cornerstones. That is just, doesn't that look like New York in the fall? It just does. How beautiful. Absolutely love it. Sue Elliott, English Paper Piecing Project, she says. Sue's from Panama City, Florida. She says, just sending a picture of a section of an English paper piecing project started in 2009 called Pies and Tarts. 2 more rows of tarts and then the outer edge to be done. My friend Kathy, with whom I work at our local quilt shop, loves the leaders and enders system and encourages our customers to follow along. So I'm going to biggie this for you here. See if I can get it. Oh, those are so cute. So it's like you've got beach balls in 2 sizes. All of the scraps in there. Look at all of that. How fun. It's just really exciting to see a project coming together and finally, you know, you reach 3/4 of the way and you just cannot wait to get it finished. I'm almost to the halfway point on these blocks, so I'm just pushing on these. Here is Pam who says, nope, that's a giveaway. Jennifer says, love seeing you live. I'm recuperating from surgery. Great excuse to lay in bed and work on my double wedding ring. I've been watching your back quilt cams, so it's great to be up to date. I've attached my double wedding ring progress, a Prezi for my husband's 50th last October. Oh well, work in progress. Also explains the T model cars in the alternative centers. So she's got, oh, here's her picture. Oh my goodness. I'm really biggie sizing that circle there. So she's got solid, the arcs solid, or are they pieced? No, they're pieced. They're pieced. They're just color coordinated. So she's got classic Model T cars in the center of the double wedding ring, and then those arcs, they look like they may be solid, but they're not. There are several different shades of red in the reds and several different greens in the green and so forth. And she's working on that by hand while she's recuperating. Wonderful. He's gonna absolutely love it. That is just terrific. Okay, and one more, and then we're gonna sew a little bit. Here we go, all the way to the top. Lily says, it's Lily from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. When I sew, I have a sewing friend in my little guy Finnegan. He likes to snooze under my quilt rack even while I listen to music when I sew. Tonight I'm working on a piecing scrappy flying geese from leftover triangles and getting myself organized for classes I signed up for in Grand Rapids at the AQS show. Looking forward to the trip, and thanks for the company. Oh, what a cutie. He's got one ear down. Come on, biggie size. So here's her little quilt helper there. Look at those ears. Aren't they just so sweet? You know, our pets are such a part of our family. My heart goes out to my friend Siobhan, who lost her little cat Brownie today. Brownie crossed the Rainbow Bridge. She was 14, and it's just so hard. That is just like not a straight square. Well, I guess it is. Okay. I think the stripes were just a little bit off grain, which was confusing me a bit. So Brownie crossed the Rainbow Bridge, and my heart just hurts for her because they are such a part of our families. And they just don't live long enough. We had a cat that lived to be 20 once upon a time, and that was still not long enough. It's cheddar, baby. Everything's better with cheddar. Actually, this one's more kind of a gold, but it'll work. So tomorrow morning, my plan is I have to mail all of the books for my visit to Ketchikan, Alaska in September up there. When I asked what it would cost to have them shipped from the warehouse, they quoted me a price like UPS was $100 a case to ship the books. And I thought, shoot, I can put them in a post office priority mail box, as many as will fit, for if it fits, it ships, for which is what, $17 a box or something. So I've got all of that to do tomorrow, and I don't know how else to get what I need up there. So it's got to be mail. And then I am taking myself and my projects for the week up to Quilt Villa and getting ready for retreat on Saturday. Which means, sounds glamorous, but there will be a whole lot of cleaning of bathrooms and washing of linens and towels and washing kitchen floors and getting stuff all set up. But there will be time to sew. usually at the cabin, I sew in the basement. I have a little sewing nook down there, but due to Siobhan's MS, we're going to do everything on the main floor. So I have a living room area, and I'm going to bring up the 301 in its vintage card table and put it back to back with the card table for the featherweight that Siobhan's bringing. So those two will be back to back. And then I have my So Easy table that will work with the Bernina for Tanya to work on, with assorted other TV trays and folding tables and other stuff that will take up the entire living room. But that way we can keep Siobhan on one level. We will be able to go out to the front porch and have our tea in the morning and rock and look at the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. We can cook in the kitchen, we can eat in the dining room, we can sew in the living room, and then the guest room is on that same floor with a walk-in shower for her. So this gives me a good idea of what it'll be like when I retire and can't handle those spiral staircases anymore and need one level living. But since it's a no boys allowed week, we can move the furniture around and do whatever we want. Cheddar with ticking stripes. Getting down there, almost to the point of not very many that have light squares anymore. I think those end right there. Then everything else is dark squares, which is my halfway point, so that's good. Getting there. Extra square. All right, let me get this one through and then we'll take some more questions. The time just flies so fast when we are sewing together. I did bring home some Liberty fabrics. I'm just not sure where I want to use them yet. And two for a pair. When I was cutting these, I cut what I could out of each strip. So there are duplicates and sometimes triplicates in these blocks. If I pulled the strip, I was not going to put a half a strip back into the box, so I just cut it till it was gone. Okay, that's as far as that one can go. Sue's. Nope, Sue's is for the giveaway. Nope, I gotta find one that's for Quilt-Cam, not the giveaway. This one is from Susan, who says, "Welcome back. Glad you had such a great trip to England. As you can see in the picture," I'm sliding out of my chair here, "I should be finishing the jewel box quilt for my folks, but I got sidetracked with a desert sky wall hanging. I also have half of the fabric cut for my brother Smith Mountain Morning. I will be busy until it's time for your upcoming mystery quilt, and I will be doing it this year, my first one. Don't be scared. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be worth it." She says, "Thank us a lot for all you do and your inspiration. You rock." I'm just an enabler who enables other enablers. Let's see. That didn't work that way. Come on, baby. Open up picture. Hang on just a second. If I hit the picture itself, there we go. Those are just beautiful. So those are her desert sky blocks, the ones that kind of look like sunbursts up there. She's got a very busy, busy, busy design wall, but isn't it inspirational? I have to work on more than one thing at a time. I've got this, and I haven't touched my spider web for a while. The spider web is packed in the car, ready to go. I'll probably be working on that some. and then the mystery. So if I start to feel burnt out on one thing, I have something else I can switch gears to, and just keep plugging along on something. That's beautiful, Susan. And we got lots of, Ness emails back. She says, about the featherweight, she says, I needed that talk a couple hours ago. I can't wait till morning, calling the guy right back and buying both machines. I will warn you, I am playing your archive on this to my husband when he gets home tomorrow for my defense. Thanks, Bonnie. You know, I knew that too, just needed reminded. So she must have bought the bait when I said that it averages out. If you got one machine for a really, really low price, and the featherweight's a little bit higher than you want to go, you know, maybe you wanted 250. Maybe he'll even give you a deal if you buy both. Maybe he'll take $50 off of one or something. So, you know, don't be afraid to barter that way if you're taking both. But really, I just lump the prices together, divide it in half, and if it seems fair that way, I'll go with it. And then figure that part of it can be my Christmas, or part of it can be my Mother's Day, or whatever it is, or part of it can be just because. Awesome. Okay, this one is from So Lucky, who says, so glad for Quilt-Cam tonight. It's been such a wonderful summer here in Sydney that my sewing has been almost obsolete, but not tonight. Tonight I am hand sewing a binding on a top that has been done for way too long as I watch and listen. Also, really like your hair at that length. Was it a difficult decision to cut it? Yes, it was very difficult, and my hairdresser, when I said, go shorter, go all the way, she said, are you serious? She says, you know, usually we'll just leave it a little bit longer, and then the next time you come in, you can go shorter. I said, get it off. I don't know what it was. I just hit this crisis where I said, enough. The long hair had to go. I needed something that was more age appropriate for me and more appropriate to my lifestyle. I wanted something easy to take care of that was not always hanging limp. So do it and don't regret it. She says, once again, thanks for all you do. The motivation is priceless, and that's Beth McDonald in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Awesome. So that wasn't Sydney, Australia. I may have gotten confused at the beginning. Nova Scotia, glad to have you with us tonight. Cheryl says, we are driving back to the central coast of California from the airport, listening to you after attending Quilt, Knit, and Stitch in Portland. Say hi to Kathy from Atascadero, Lisa from Morro Bay, Joan from Los Osos, and Cheryl from Paso Robles. Thanks for Quilt-Cam fun on our drive, and that's from Cheryl. Did you guys buy out the booths there? I hope you had a good time. I was following some gals on Instagram that were posting some pictures of what was going on at Quilt, Knit, and Stitch, and it looked like a great show. Let's see. Here's Jan, who says she's heading back to South Texas. I don't get to catch Quilt-Cam very often, but tonight I'm in our hotel room in Bloomington, Minnesota, waiting for our 5 a.m. flight back to Harlingen. Bloomington is where my mom grew up, and I was born in Minneapolis, so I know right where you are. I'm cutting 16 more pieces of fabric for a 1-inch English paper piecing row for a 15-friend row robin. Love to sit and sew with you tonight. Keep up the wonderful quilty work, and thanks for all your sharing. And that's Jan, who gives the best breakfast brunch ever. So I hope you tell all the gals in Texas a big hello from me. We always have a good time when I get down there. To the top, Jackie, Blue Ridge Beauty leftovers, she says. Jackie here in Southern California working on leftover pieces from my Blue Ridge Beauty, making a second quilt and loving Quilt-Cam. And yep, looks like she's got us on her laptop. And the strips, they are a cutting right there. Blues and neutrals, all getting cut down. Wonderful. That's fun. I'm going to lay out the next one, because this is a fabric that makes me smile. And I know this is a 1960s fabric. It's kind of cut up. If I put it this way, this is where it was cut. But it had these little Dutch ladies, or these little, whoever they are, nationality ladies, with this lady's playing a guitar and likely singing, but it has all these little Delft kind of hearts and flowers and leaves and things on there, and just a fun vintage piece. And I just like the colors of it. It's mostly white, so it's going to play as a neutral with a little bit of blue. And I'm sticking it with burnt orange, something that really doesn't go with, but it'll be fun. You know, blue and orange go together quite well, but these two fabrics are definitely not the same era, and definitely not from the same jelly roll. But color can go up against any other color. You know, it's color gets all the acclamation and all of the rewards, but value, the light or the dark of the fabric, value does all the work. Okay. It's just a real joy just to sit here and put these pieces through. Such a simple block, but so fun in scraps. I love things that chain anyway, so this is a real fun thing. The light ones, the ones that are light on the outside, I'm going to have to press the other direction so that they will nest with these. Oh, that's cute. Crisp blue and white. Blue and white is so classic. I always love it. And when I went through the fabric, I also chose things that hadn't moved in a long time, like, okay, you are never going to go with anything, so we're going to get you out of here. There were a lot of these peachy, kind of orangey things. And then the light was something that was kind of light, but kind of not, and kind of florally, and kind of never went with anything. So it's like they are going together, and they are going to be out of here. I'm also surprised that my bobbin hasn't run out, and if it runs out, we're done for the night. That's the clue. Bobbin out, curtain down. Okay, so here's the one with the little blue Delft on white. So if you have a fabric like this, and maybe you've put it in your blue pile, pull it out of your blue pile and put it back in the white pile, because it's on a white ground. This fabric really has a lot of white space around all of those blue motifs. It's not a blue fabric. And maybe you'll find a place where you can use it. And even though there's not blue in that orange, I put it with that orange anyway, because it works. It's all about the variety. And the hot flashes. Woo. I turned my air conditioner off. I got the room really cool before Quilt-Cam started, but it makes such a rattle-trap noise in the window that I turned it off when we started the cam, and I can tell the room temperature, she is a-rising. It's humid because we had that big thunderstorm. That thunderstorm also killed my steps today. I wasn't able to get as many as I wanted. So next Quilt-Cam time, I am thinking 30th, 31st, something like that. Tanya and Siobhan will be with me up at the cabin from Saturday to Friday, and then we will stay through the weekend. And it's also my anniversary weekend, so there won't be Quilt-Cam during that. Really thready fabric here. So we'll be home on the Sunday night after this coming Sunday. And there may be time. My next trip after that, I go to Bloomington, Illinois for a few days. If you are anywhere near Bloomington, my lecture should be open to the public even though the workshops are full. So please come see me. I would love to meet you. Information on the calendar. You can click and get the Guild website and the contact person's information on my calendar. Just click the Calendar of Events tab at the top of the blog. Trip after that, I'm home for a few days, and then I'm off to Ketchikan, Alaska. And I'll be in Alaska for, I think, 5 days. And then I fly on a red-eye flight from Alaska to Buffalo, New York, without coming home first. We go home to Alaska to New York, and then home. And that's my September. After that, I'm home for a couple of days, and I go to Michigan, and there's 2 groups in Michigan that I'm seeing. I'll be in Davison, Michigan, which is near Flint. So if you are living near Flint, Michigan, and aren't part of the Davison Guild, look at the website, check out the calendar, get a hold of the contact person, and find out about the lecture. Would love to have you there, would love to meet you there. And then I'll be driving from Davison all the way up to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, to meet up with a group of quilters up there, and then my flight there, so I fly into Flint and then fly home out of Pellston. So it's going to be a lot of air miles happening in September. That's my entire month of September. So we go Illinois, Alaska, Buffalo, and 2 places in Michigan, which is why I'm really glad I've had this wonderful August to spend some serious time on some important quilt happenings. But this year is just winding down so fast. You know, it seems like once we hit September, somebody hits the turbo button and the rest of the year just slams through. Put it this way, there'll be a whole lot of hexie sewing happening in September on airplanes. Yes, I hear the phone a-buzzing. Going as fast as I can. We're going to take some more comments here. You know, this project would be a great retreat project. If you had everything all cut up ahead of time and in little Ziploc baggies so that you just could sit by your machine and sew, have you noticed how these blocks are just continuous, one after another, one after another? This whole stack has been made just from the past few quilt cams that we've done. Just use your time before retreat to do all of the kitting up, and then you can just sit there at your table. Easy sewing, easy piecing, and you get to participate with all the laughter and the talk and the gossip and the giggles and the snacks. So I love retreat projects like this. Okay, that doesn't look so bad for that peachy crap. Just been in the stash a long time, kind of a wishy-washy color, and same with the neutral. It's kind of a greeny neutral, just kind of a, gone. Perfect. Okay, let's check in. All the way to the top. No, that's for the guest book, or for the... Oh, this is from Sue in Luck, Wisconsin, who says, I was so wrong, I guess you were working on garlic knots. Garlic knots is another free pattern. Or it wasn't a free pattern, it was another Addicted to Scraps column block. That one's on my list too, but it's not this one. This one's Carolina Chain. Garlic knots is in that run-up too. She says, I've got that pattern in front of me, choosing and matching up my 2-inch strips to cut for a baby quilt for my niece. Going to have to try the pattern you're working on for the next baby. This would be an awesome baby quilt. You could do it even in just 2 colors, or choose 3 colors or whatever, and it doesn't even have to be scrappy. It's just a fun and easy one. She says, thanks, Bonnie. Love all the inspiration and motivation, especially on a Monday night when I am usually sitting like a lump after a long day at work. Lump is a frame of mind, and I think just right. Once we start petting the fabric or pressing the fabric, if we tell ourselves, I'm just going to do this for 30 minutes, oftentimes it'll stretch into an hour, hour and a half, and we can just get that much more out of our day, and I love it. This one is from Patty, who says, greetings from Central Texas. Enjoy sewing together tonight. Tonight, hand quilting a quilt for my granddaughter's Christmas. I have a brother machine almost like yours. I've just replaced the electrical cords and foot pedal. Mr. Singer said it wasn't worth fixing, but we know better. Brother Bobby Blue sews great and is strong. Thanks for Quilt-Cam. Can't wait to do the mystery quilt this year. I vote for a queen or a king. I could use either. So happy. Well, you'll be able to adjust the pattern to make it whatever size that you want. So just stick with me. It's going to be a fun time. All right, Laura Valdez says, binding. Working on the binding of a quilt I made from Australian patchwork and quilting years ago. Had plans to hand quilt it, but that went by the wayside because of family issues. It takes a lot of time. So I had it machine quilted, and I'm working on the binding while I enjoy Quilt-Cam. Thanks for all the trips and fun you give us in quilting. You are so welcome. I love it when that binding time comes. I'm scrolling past the ones that say giveaway. Just going for the ones that say Quilt-Cam. Says Janorama says, I heard it takes 1 day for each time zone you cross before you're reacclimated to your normal internal time clock. So that must have been what happened, because I got home on Tuesday and it was a 5-hour time adjustment, and I have had a struggle. This morning I thought I was over it. Yesterday morning I slept till 8 a.m., which never happens. This morning I was up at 4. Go figure. But I'm feeling better, a little bit better every day. And then we go to Alaska and have it be the other way. But it's a wild world. Okay, I'm going to scroll down, see who we missed. If I miss your questions, I'll get back to you in email. This one is Sharon, who says, looks like she's replying to, no, it just says sent from my iPad, but there's nothing there. Sharon Bolt, if you sent me something, there's no text at all because you sent it from your iPad maybe. Sorry. And this one is Kathleen, who says it's clear on her Kindle, blurry on iPad, clear on Kindle. Okay. Well, you never know, and I think it's one of those things. It's also the screen resolution. The bigger you make the video, like some people put it on their big screen TV or their big monitor or whatever, it's going to be blurrier than if they looked at it in the 600 pixels wide screen that's on the blog. You know, so the more you blow it up, the blurrier it's going to be. This one is Amelia, who says, this is the baby quilt for my great-grandniece that I have been working on since November. She arrived in February. The quilt might get to her before the Army moves the family from Fort Stewart, Georgia to Fort Riley, Kansas. Love Quilt-Cam. Missed the last few. Bonnie, you look like you have lost weight. No, I just cut my hair. Although we did a walk, and we walked, and we walked, and we walked. In England, I had the most steps on my Fitbit that I ever had in one day, and it was over 25,000 steps, which is 2.5 days worth of walking in one day. But the food, oh, the food. So I don't think I lost weight. In fact, you know, if I lost weight, it would be someplace really, really ridiculous, like my calves. Where I'd like to lose weight, this drives me, hey Betty, it drives me crazy. You know, I've got the choir director arms. But you know what? Who has time to work with weights when I've got quilt deadlines and other stuff going? And I do get out there and I walk and my heart is healthy. My arms may be flabby, but my heart is healthy. But thank you so much. She's got her photo right here and it's adorable. Super cute. We got some fussy cutting of castles and things going on. Castles and keys and princess things and lots of chevrons and zigzags going on in there. Just beautiful. I love doing baby quilts because you can get away with anything and you can just try all the new fabrics, all the new colors, and it's a small project and it's done rather quickly. So that's beautiful. One more and we're going to call it a night here. My voice is going so way to the top. This is from Sharon in Saskatchewan, who says, first time catching you live on Quilt-Cam. So this is a great way to end our night with a first timer. She says, just want you to know that you are totally responsible for my addiction. I have 7 and counting vintage machines. Here's a picture of my most recent find, a 1917 Singer 127. Love this beauty. She sews like a dream. Can hardly wait to find out if hubby and I will be the happy new owners of a log cabin in northern Saskatchewan. The first thing I want to take is a couple of my vintage machines. Good girl. My heart's right there with you. She says, thanks for sharing your time and talent with all of us. And here's her machine. Oh, she's beautiful. Just awesome. So she's got the lighter oak cabinet and a beautiful Singer 127 with the Sphinx decals. Look at that shiny, shiny balance wheel there. Really pretty. She'll love that. You know, people are scared at first of bullet shuttles and the spindle bobbins, but once you learn them, there's nothing to be afraid of. And you can get manuals and parts, and they use regular size needles, and it's the simplest thing to operate than you can imagine. So don't be afraid to learn to treadle if you've always wanted to learn to treadle. It's worth it. Maybe if I put my Fitbit on my shoe and do some treadling tonight, I can get those steps in that I missed due to the rainstorm. Well, everybody, it's been a wonderful, wonderful evening sewing with you tonight. Let's check back towards the end of the month. If you follow my blog at quiltville.blogspot.com, I will usually give you at least 24 hours heads up if I'm going to be able to fit in Quilt-Cam, but usually it's 2 days. I try to let people know, okay, it's Sunday and it looks like Tuesday is going to be clear. We can do it then. Follow along with me. If you follow along on Facebook, you might not be getting all of our posts in the newsfeed because Facebook decides who's going to see what at any given time. The best way to get the information when you want the information is to come directly to the blog and read the post there. You won't miss a thing that way. If you want to follow along with Facebook and not miss a single Facebook post, come to the wall. Don't just stay in your newsfeed. Come directly to the wall and you'll see every post that we made and you won't miss a thing that way. If you are on our Facebook page, Quiltville Friends, and you haven't joined Open Studio yet, you might want to. We have a group called Open Studio where it is Open Studio. 24/7 people are posting pictures of their projects in progress and sharing photos of their new sewing machine, their new old sewing machine, or the fabric they bought, or asking questions on, hey, I scorched my fabric with the iron. How do I remove the marks from my light areas? Participate. It's a lot of fun. You'll make a lot of good friends, and you can find that in the search bar at the top of Facebook. Just type in Quiltville, and you'll find both groups, and you can like and join there. I look forward to seeing you next time. If it's still early where you are, you know the rule. Don't stop sewing just because I am. See if you can put in a few more pieces, a few more stitches, and make a little bit more progress to your day. We'll see you next time on Quilt-Cam. I'm Bonnie from the basement at Quiltville. Good night, everybody.